Creighton coach.
Who's got a very efficient setup.
Creighton coach Greg McDermott here. Coach, thanks for joining us this morning.
You bet, guys. Always a pleasure.
Coach, how we doing? How are things, man? You're getting ready to ramp it up, but I feel like this is the least amount of time I've talked to you in between your downtime. How have you been?
Everything's good. Just trying to learn the names of my team, man. New guys
you and me both, Coach. But it is. I don't know. There's obviously I've been a Creighton fan for I'm going back to like the Ryan Sears days, and it is kind of always a little exciting when you get I think I'm sure it's a headache for you, but as a fan, it's nice. It's fun to get a new roster, and there's an excitement there of, oh, I'd like to see this guy play a little, and even guys that played last year, right? Like, oh, I wonder what Jackson McAndrew looks like this year, right? Like, is there any of that as a coach? I mean, besides the logistical headaches of it, is there any excitement there where you're just like, oh, I think these guys could be pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you go through the recruiting process, there's a reason you bring these guys in, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think they're a fit. You think they have the skill set that fits how we want to play. And they're great dudes. They've really been a lot of fun to be around. And, we've got a roster that's as deep probably of any roster I've ever coached. And it's just trying to figure that out because there really has been, 13, 14 guys that at times during the first 9 practices have looked like they belong in the rotation.
Yeah.
But obviously you're not playing that many guys. So, how we're able to kind of figure out, who fits together the best, and, then how the guys that are on the outside looking in handle that's gonna loom large into, how successful we can become.
Coach, let me ask you something. I always talk about this because it stuck with me when you transition to the conference. So the first part you'll have heard before, right, where you said you had some non-negotiables when you were going to recruit and what those were, and you'll get a better feel as you get more accustomed to the Big East. But you had those non-negotiables. As you've gotten into this conference and the freedom of movement has become greater, do you find yourself internally negotiating more the quote-unquote non-negotiables, or are they still what they were for you in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, things have changed so much since 2013, 14 when we went into the league. I mean, this job is a totally different job. It's not even close to the same.
Yeah.
But, we're still trying to recruit guys with skill. And, I have to remind my staff every once in a while when we don't look the best defensively. We didn't recruit these guys to play defense. We recruited them because they had a high level of skill, and then we'll figure out that part of the floor. There's a lot of ways to build programs. Some coaches they want long, they want athletic, they want defenders, and then we'll figure out how to beat somebody 56 to 54. We've chosen the skill route, guys that can handle it, pass it, shoot it, have a high basketball IQ, and then we figure out the defense later. And, Kalkbrenner was a cheat code for that because he allowed us to do things different than really anybody in the country because of how we were able to use him. And now we're back to, we have really good frontline players, but their skill set is not the same defensively as Ryan Kalkbrenner. So, we have to kind of reinvent ourselves on that end of the floor.
Coach, as somebody who does not enjoy a 56 to 54 basketball game, I want to thank you for choosing the route that you did. But I did want to talk about defense here for a second. You brought up the cheat code that was Ryan Kalkbrenner, and I've heard a lot of Creighton fans kind of in my spheres talk about their concern for what the defense might look like. And I know that the last 4 years were really impressive with Ryan, or 5, I guess. But I think people maybe forget that Kalkbrenner was actually the departure from how you used to play defense, and at a certain point got pretty good at it. Is that sort of what you keep in the back of your mind when you're retooling how this team wants to play defensively?
Some would argue that we didn't play defense before Kalkbrenner, and they have.
I knew that was coming.
They have a relatively good argument. I remember telling Huss when he was here, when we had some of those, the conference championship team, was really elite offensively, but we weren't great defensively. And I just tell Huss, who was coordinating the offense, we got to score 85. I'm just telling you that. So, figure it out. So, we might be back to that a little. I think what we do have, though, is we have versatility across our lineup.
Yeah.
With some size and some.
That's a lot of length.
Even the point guards and Nick Graves and Ty Davis are 6'3", 6'4", but then you start with Dix and Blake Harper and Hudson Greer and Austin Swartz and Jason Green, and then you got Jackson and Isaac playing at the 4. I mean, everybody's like 6'5", 6'6" to 6'10". So, we have some interchangeable parts there that I think can be a little bit disruptive defensively. And it's just, when you build a team defensively, you start with how do you guard the post and how do you guard a ball screen? What's the strengths of your big guys to be able to do that? And because Owen Freeman has been out really since he's arrived, we've had to really throw a lot of stuff at the wall and teach the rest of the roster a lot of different things until we can get him in the lineup and figure out what fits him the best. And I'm hopeful that, maybe this week he gets a little bit of 5-on-5 time, and we can ease him into it and, have him ready hopefully by November 1st.
Coach, this is interesting. I argue, I know you'll find this surprising. I argue with Ravi quite a bit over his particular fancies when it comes to basketball. He is notoriously a hater of small point guards. You have flourished with some undersized point guards for a long time. What in the world? To heck with ball screen and how you're going to defend it. How are you going to play with size in the backcourt?
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting because what we started with oftentimes last year defensively is what's the best place to put Steven, because we had to have him on the floor, so we couldn't put him in a situation where he was going to be in foul trouble. There was never a question of him competing and fighting and trying to do everything he could to survive, but his size was obviously a problem at times. So we kind of started our plan with where do we best put him, where we don't get him switched onto somebody that's too physical, has to have too much size. And this year we can throw a lot of that out the window, and we can switch some stuff if we need to in situations like that. But you're right, we've had some good ones. Maurice Watson was great.
Yeah.
Chapman was great.
Zagorowski was great.
Zagorowski was 6'3". Zagorowski
allegedly
he was
like 6'1.5".
The roster said 6'3", DV.
Yeah. Well, the roster lied a little bit on his.
Let's go.
Well, I know it lied on Ashworth too, because I looked that guy in the eye, and I am not 6 foot tall.
Coach, do you find yourself? It could be fun. Is it fun at this stage where you're kind of looking for ways to continue to be a lifelong learner, where now you get to figure out matchups and styles of play within your own team? You get to decide on minutes. Like this is kind of a different phase for you because you have so many gosh darn options.
Yeah, I mean, it's on one hand it's fun. On the other hand, it's challenging. Generally speaking, every team when you start the season, you kind of know probably 3 starters, sometimes 4 starters, and then you kind of just build around that. And with this team, it's been strange, trying to figure that out. But it's also been fun, and obviously I'm always trying to learn. I was in Charleston this weekend to watch Ryan's first exhibition game. I promised him I'd be there, and was able to spend lunch Sunday with Grant Gibbs and Mark Daigneault, the head coach of Oklahoma City. Yeah. We spent a couple hours talking basketball. And obviously Coach Huss coming back after being a head coach for 2 years, he puts his own spin on things and things that he's learned from the people that he's worked for, and then developed his own philosophy. So he's brought some great ideas back that, as a guy that's been doing it 36, 37 years, sometimes you do it because it's the way you've always done it. And that doesn't necessarily mean there's not a better way to do it. So, learning from other people and trying to figure out better ways to reach these guys and help them reach their potential is something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah. If there's anybody that knows anything about playing 10 guys in a rotation, even at the NBA level, look no further than OKC. Coach, let me ask you, how much of waiting on Owen Freeman's health and kind of what he's capable of doing will allow you to discern how you want to play, not just offensively, but defensively with him?
Yeah, and defensively is probably the key. Is what's the best, what's his strength in that regard. He's had a history of foul trouble a little bit, so missing camp and missing most of the summer He doesn't get that repetition that we work so hard on to try to keep.
Yeah, because you guys don't foul.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't this year either. But
at least you got all those guys in case you do.
Yeah, the problem is in the past, if somebody beat you off the dribble, you just kind of got out of the way and let Kalkbrenner handle it, and we don't really have that right now. So, but I think Owen's skill set offensively is different than Ryan's as well. I just think he operates in the mid post. He can catch it in the high post and make plays off the dribble. He's good with his back to the basket. He really passes the basketball. So I think there's things that he's going to bring to our offense in particular that's going to be really different than what we've seen in the past.
Coach, Freeman, probably one of the better, like, pure or true fives offensively that you've had at Creighton, at least. Is that an exaggeration?
No, not. I think in terms of catching it, 15 feet and in and finding a way to get it in the basket, he's certainly one of the best. I think the combination of high post, mid post, low post. I think he's as skilled as anyone we had. We've had some good ones down there. Echenike and Jeff Grosel scored on the block, and certainly Kalk was able to get big baskets for us. But I think the offensive versatility of Owen, and like I said, he hasn't really practiced yet, so I'm going off what I've watched on film for the most part, but I'm really excited about, I think, what he can bring to our team.
Yeah, he got injured, but there was a stretch there too where Crumple was really good as well.
Martin had a good game or a good career here, and he's having a great professional career. He actually, he played in the World Championships next to Luca on that team here a couple months ago. So, I think Kerem Conan has some of.
You got a heck of a track record, man.
Well, let's be honest.
I'm just thinking out
the best.
We forget about Crumple, and
I loved Crumple, but
he's just rattling them all.
And let's be honest, the best low post scorer was grew up in your house. I mean, like, if we're being real here.
Well, that's quite a compliment. I appreciate you saying that about me.
I mean, hey, those UNI days speak for themselves,
Well, now wait a minute. Will you be dunking this year, Coach?
No, I stopped that at 50. Right around my 50th birthday is when Coach Vanderloo blew his Achilles, basically walking across the gym. So I decided, that's not going to happen. I've proven my point. I did it till I was 50, and I'm going to shut it down.
So we blinked a little bit, and we took a few things for granted with the run that UConn went on, no matter how you guys treated them in conference. But you look up, and much like we talk with the Big Ten and football, the coaching prowess in the conference, it is elite, right? You're constantly in the discussion for Coach of the Year. You obviously have, some national championship winning coaches in the conference. How does that draw with your competitive ire, knowing that it is an elite level conference when it comes to guys patrolling the bench as well?
Yeah, you have to be ready, and if you have a weakness, they are going to expose it. It's just the bottom line. So you better figure out how you're going to counter that when they figure that out. But right on down the line, from Coach Pitino to Hurley to Cooley, and Kim's doing a great job at Providence. Chris Holtman is back in the league, and Thad Mott has been in Final Fours, and now the young Richard Pitino now has had a great run at New Mexico, and Minnesota probably wishes they had him back now because he was doing okay there. So just across the board, there's really good coaching in this conference, and it makes the preparation fun. You really have to get outside of the box with some of your thinking, and I think the league, especially at the top, will be loaded again this year. And but we also lost a lot of really good players, and a lot of teams are like us where they have 7, 8 new guys, and you're trying to figure out how they best fit together. And it's different than it used to be. You used to have 9, 10 guys back, and they'd help the 3 or 4 new guys kind of get through it. And now we've got 6 or 7 guys back trying to help 9 guys figure out what the culture is and what the expectations are, and answer their questions the best they can.
All right, Coach. This is DB's fault because he brought it up.
It always is.
I'm not a huge fan of Dan Hurley up in UConn, But if you tell me he's more likable in like real life than he comes across, I'll believe you.
He's a great guy off the floor.
There
like
we go.
You would both enjoy having a conversation.
I enjoy him. Ravi
with
hates
him.
me for it.
I've sat behind the bench too many times. I'm having a hard time, Mac. Like I'm having a hard time.
I just do my best. You know, I think he wants to hate me, and I just kill him with kindness.
Let's go.
So I have a little bit of fun with him, and you know, obviously, we added a little fuel to the fire with the end of the Big East Conference, their Big East tournament game last year with Jemiah's dunk at the end. That like that rivalry needed any fuel thrown on it.
Right.
You know, it made it interesting. That's for sure.
You know, I think that's my.
I probably am not going to be in any Bill Murray movies.
That's right. Give you more time to work on that lob wedge. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Coach, I got to ask about one of my just personal favorites on the team. Fedor Zugic had obviously a very strange year last year, and for an off-season part of this off-season as well. Is he going to be eligible? Is he not going to be eligible? Finally gets to play, kind of gets thrown into the mix there. What's the difference going to be like for him just in being able to prepare to actually play a season?
Yeah, I mean, the second time through things, you know, he didn't get here till right before school started last year. So he missed the summertime. And then he missed the spring too, because there was a couple different appeals that we lost. And then, you know, he actually took off and went home. And you know, our plan was, or we had the plan that he wasn't coming back, and we needed to recruit to make sure that we were covered. Yeah. So we did that, and then he ends up coming back. So now we have this depth problem. But he's, you know, obviously he played great for us late in the year last year, and I think going through it the second time has been easier for him. He just needs to keep it simple. You know, he really impacted the game in a lot of ways last year, and now he has to be one of the leaders of the team, and that's a lot to ask a guy that's in his second year, and that's part of the problem we have is our, you know, Jason Green and Isaac Trout have been around a little bit, but you know, Jackson and Ty and Fedor, our other three more experienced players, are only in their second year, and you're asking them to really grab this team and lead it, and that's a lot to ask of someone that's in their second year. But you know, I think Fedor will play a very significant role for us.
Fantastic stuff. I'm pretty pumped, Coach. I can't wait.
I will say
it should be fun,
Coach. We appreciate the time for sure, and I'll be honest, the Jemiah Neal dunk was my favorite part of the year last year. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. My reaction on the sideline maybe was a little different than my reaction in the locker room afterwards. So,
I know you're busy with like a real job, but if you could take some time to count the number of segments we've had over this guy's disdain for UConn, it is.
There's been a few, haven't there?
I mean, it is incredible.
Hey, I gave him props the other day. Speaking of the Jemiah Neal dunk, when he owned it, now he's like, "Yeah, I probably earned that." And I was like, "All right, Hurley, maybe I can ride with you."
You know, and as I mentioned, I went to Charleston to Kalkbrenner's game, and I'm sitting there, you know, I don't know, 15 rows up or whatever, and of course I have two UConn fans right behind me that are screaming for McNeely the entire time. And so
you're like, yeah, we shut that guy down.
I feel, yeah, we did a great job on him in Omaha.
1 out of 2 ain't bad.
Listen, I was going to say 1 out of 2 ain't bad.
Yeah, we were better. We were better the next 2 times, but the Omaha wasn't too good.
Coach, appreciate the time as always. You've got that, man. Exhibition coming up just right around the corner. We definitely appreciate you taking the time. We'll talk soon.
Anytime, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Coach.
That is head men's basketball coach Greg McDermott.